We are live! Yay! Hello, everyone! Hey, this is Constance from Mysterious Galaxy, and I am very, very much looking forward to introducing to you authors and illustrators Tim Fielder, who is going to be in conversation with John Jennings. And I have to give a shout out to Tim's amazing bow tie because it is so ridiculously awesome, and we very much appreciate you showing up for the Galaxy.
I came from the future.
Yeah, have to give a shout out. And I am so excited. So we are here today to celebrate Tim's book in, I want to say this correctly, Infinitum. Is that?
It is infinitum because I'm from Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Thank you.
Infinitum, an Afrofuturist tale.
And this book, I'm not gonna go too much into it because I don't want to give spoilers away. But essentially, we have a king who is cursed, and he doesn't understand necessarily how bad immortality is until he gets to firsthand experience it, and all the things you see and get to experience when you simply don't die, which at first may sound great, but then you realize it really has a lot of, not so great aspects to it as well. And so I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to John, who is going to be our fabulous in conversation partner. But before I do, a little housekeeping rules for everyone. And that is going to be that to the right-hand side, you will see all of the wonderful chat. I already see everyone giving so much love to our two guests tonight, which is very well deserved. And also, if you have any questions for them, because both of these men are very accomplished and awesome, if you have any questions, there will be a button that, as it would imply, says ask a question. And if you hit that, you can ask a question. And then last but most assuredly not least, see, we're on like the same wavelength because this is such a good book that would be a great addition to any collection. So if you want, hit that buy book and signed book plate button, and we will take you to a page from Mysterious Galaxy that has all of the books you can purchase. Now I will go ahead and pass it off to Illustrator John, who will be leading us tonight. Have an amazing event, everyone, and I will see you at the end of the event. And don't forget, make sure you ask questions.
Ooh. It's funny. Hey, how y'all doing? Thank you, Mysterious Galaxy, which is a great galaxy, actually. I've been physically in the store. It's located in San Diego. Wonderful space, wonderful people. I'm here with my good friend and fellow Afrofuturist scholar, visual Afrofuturist,
And
homeboy from Mississippi. Hey, Damien. I'm sorry, it's Damien.
No, I see him, Damien. I see Timmy is there. What's up, man?
So I want to kind of halfway pretend like, we don't talk about this stuff all the time.
Right.
And so, just to kind of jump into things, I want to kind of start with, where you're from, your origin story, so to speak, how you ended up, having this book with HarperCollins. So give us the roundabout. Because some people,
right. It's interesting because for anyone that has any, knowledge of cartooning, we just lost S. Clay Wilson today.
Oh,
yes. S. Clay Wilson passed away. And for those who don't know who S. Clay Wilson is, he's one of the originators of the underground comics movement.
Right.
And I thought, wow, it's interesting that on the night that I'm giving this, S. Clay Wilson passes away. And it does really feel like a generation is moving on and a new generation, or, whoever they are, they're kind of coming in terms of movements. And I'll get to the origin thing. But, people say, well, Tim, what are you talking about? You're talking about comics? Comics have been around for years. No, I'm not talking about comics. I'm talking about visual Afrofuturism. That is the movement that is coming into being right now at this very moment as we are sitting here talking. Literally, this thing happened today in paper form. Yesterday it was in digital. So I think we'll go into that a little bit later. But I'm from Clarksdale, Mississippi, born in Tupelo, home of Elvis, raised in Clarksdale, home of Robert Johnson, who probably did not make a deal with the devil at the crossroads. That's just a myth. Don't believe it. But I was raised in Clarksdale, and I was raised on comics like a little bit of Marvel, a little bit of DC, a whole lot of S. Clay Wilson, a whole lot of Shane Rodriguez, which was totally inappropriate for us to be reading. Don't let your kids see trash, man, prior to the age of 18. Don't do that. You know, although George Miller owes quite a bit of the debt to Spain Rodriguez, because it's just essentially Road Warrior. Right. But I read that stuff coming up. Moondog by George Metzger. So it was a heavy diet of alternative comics and a heavy diet of Canadian comics.
Interesting. Huh.
Yes. One of the cartoonists that had, it's like the cartoonist that had the biggest effect on me as a creator. Obviously, Mobius.
Yeah.
Kirby.
Yep.
But then there's this cartoonist that a lot of people don't know he was a cartoonist. They know him as a concept designer for the Bruce Timm Batman and Justice League. Is this guy by the name of Paul Ricochet.
Okay.
And Paul Ricochet did this adaptation of this Arthur C. Clarke story called Exile of the Eons. And if you ever see Exile of the Eons or read it, you will actually be able to see some themes that are present in Infinitum in Exile of the Eons. It's this huge epic, and he did it. And it was this big story. It was just beautifully airbrush painting. So I grew up on that stuff. So Inky Bilal, Philippe Drouillet, Long Delirious, that stuff. Yep. That's what I grew up on. And while I was reading that stuff, trying not to move the books around in my brother's drawer because we didn't want him to know that we were in his drawer. So it's a system we had that you memorize the positioning. So when he got home, he would never have a clue that we were there.
Right.
Of course, it didn't matter. He probably knew we were doing it anyway. But that's what I did. Raised across the street from a cotton field on what was called at the time a junior college campus called Coahoma Junior College. And that is my origin. I grew up in a town with initially one movie theater, and it eventually became two movie theaters.
Wow.
And Star Wars was in town for maybe like 2 weeks, which was eternity. Blade Runner was in town for a weekend.
Man, Blade Runner. You guys had... I'm so
Alien was in town for a weekend, and we were out of town when it hit. So a lot of those movies I didn't see in movie theaters. I saw them on HBO. You know, back in the early 80s. You know, it was, oh my God, you know, because we missed it. You know, we couldn't see it.
No, I had a similar situation. You know, I didn't get a chance to go to the movies until I think my first movie was Dragon Slayer. You know what I'm saying?
My first movie was at the Paramount Theater in Clarksdale, which eventually shut down. And, you know, it was, my parents are so amazing. It was a choice between, I saw the first two movies I saw that I remember seeing was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay.
Which we're going to talk about today. And the Poseidon Adventure.
The Poseidon? Wow.
Dude.
Okay.
And here I am, 6 years old, me and my twin brother watching this thing, and everybody's dying horribly. They're like drowning. They're being burned up by explosions. This massive ship is Irwin Allen, right?
Yes, I'm very familiar.
Exactly. So that is how I grew up, and that is how the insanity that became my personal life, my professional life, and ultimately this book.
Right.
That is the origin. I hope I answered your question.
No.
That's
actually pretty good. It's funny because, you know, I just keep forgetting how similar, you know, our backgrounds are. I mean, you know, all the way down to where we went to school for a second, you know.
Jackson State University.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I think the key is like being exposed to something else outside of what people think, you know, quote unquote, like usual literary narratives, looking at popular culture and actually, like, you know, reading that simultaneously with whatever English pieces that you're consuming at the same time, and then juxtaposing those and actually not differentiating from them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I get the sense that there's just as much love for high, quote unquote, high, fine art as there is for, comics and other things. I mean, that are considered to be low, and I think that's really interesting. I mean, the idea of the pulp, you know what I'm saying? Because, I think that I see that in your work too, that there's a love for, like, pulp fiction and for pop culture and for sweeping epic narratives that kind of challenge, I think.
It's weird because I grew up in a household where my older brothers were like avid readers. It was difficult for me to get into reading a lot of stuff, but here I am, like 6 years old, and Dahlgren's on the shelf for 20 years.
Right.
It's just there. Dahlgren's there. I remember Dahlgren. I remember I'm sorry?
I was letting them know Dahlgren by Samuel R. Delaney. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dahlgren by Samuel Chip Delaney. It was a lot of Ben Bova.
Yeah.
A lot of Vincent DeFate paintings. A lot of what's the one with this awesome The Forever War, Joe Haldeman.
Okay.
A lot of that. I believe I pronouncing his name correctly. I could be wrong. I'm sorry if I am. So that's how I grew up. That and heavy doses of Maggot Brain and Pinball Wizard.
Yeah.
That was what was up.
So this is stuff that was in the house just that your parents were listening.
No,
brother.
No. He had zero control over anything.
Okay.
I remember it got so ridiculous. I remember when Queen was at its height. And they had, I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike.
Yes.
And it was playing about
bicycle. That's something stuck in my head.
7 a.m. And my dad cooked breakfast for us every day during the weekdays during my childhood. And there's this point where Queen is known for the anthem and the music is blasting, it's rising, and Freddie Mercury is going heavy, and my dad burst into the room. He said, expletive, stop playing this music about this man wanting to ride his damn bicycle. So that was my life growing up.
Hilarious.
And that is totally hilarious. It is. You could mix together a little bit of Andy Griffith's Strange Days and in the environment of Emmett Till, and you got how I grew up. But
yeah, see, that sounds about right. This kind of crazy, this wicked, crazy gumbo, with a strong dose of like heavy metal on top. The magazine, also the music, it seems too. So you mentioned visual. Okay, first of all, just for people, I mean, they might already know this. What is your definition of Afrofuturism? And then what is visual Afrofuturism? Because there's a designation, and and I'm not one to get into semantics. That's not true. I love semantics, but it's just, I think a lot of people are wondering how these different areas like interact.
Right. Excellent question, and I will try to break it down purely from my perspective, right? Because there are some folks who look at Afrofuturism as many different things.
That's true.
So I'm just going to talk about it from my perspective. And the simplest thing to say, Afrofuturism for me is Negroes and spaceships. It is Black characters engaged in science fiction and technologically complex scenarios.
Okay.
And that can have a little bit of horror in it. It can have a whole lot of science fiction in it. It can have a little bit of fantasy in it. It can even have a little erotic elements in there. But Black people have agency in environments that are speculative. That's Afrofuturism to me.
Right.
Now, there are people who apply it to housing law. There are people who, what is it? The Renaissance, I think it's the Renaissance dance thing. They got it with dance.
Right.
You got folks like our buddy Ronaldo Anderson, who just has a whole arts movement, the Black speculative arts movement. You have people who just deal with it in fashion, and of course, film. Black Panther, right? That's what it is. Which, of course, now when we talk about Black Panther, people mean the movie first before they mean the comic, which is crazy, right?
Which is wild.
But thank God for Black Panther. I love Black Panther, love it.
Me too.
But right. So visual Afrofuturism, right? The form of Afrofuturism, the forms, I should say plural, of Afrofuturism that have been most prominent so far have been in music and prose.
That's correct.
Music and prose. Those are the two, right? Because you can always point to Earth, Wind, and Fire. So, well, how's Earth, Wind, and Fire? I'm like, down to the music and the dress, the way they carried themselves on stage, everything was about Jupiter and, that whole that's what it was, right?
Yes.
Parliament Funkadelic. That's all Afrofuturism. Not just Sun Ra, but Parliament. That was when I'm listening to Maggot Brain in the 70s, 71. That's music. That's Afrofuturism.
Yeah. Now,
prose, Chip Delaney, Octavia Butler. Before that, you would have W.E. Du Bois with The Comet. So there's always been a legacy of prose writing and music. Now, visual Afrofuturism, and this is where you get into the semantics, visual Afrofuturism, there's always a sprinkling of visual Afrofuturism in many different forms. So Star Trek, one could consider it not Afrofuturism. But Nichelle Nichols, her visual, a Black woman with agency, that's an Afrofuturistic visual.
Yeah, I see.
Just like Lando Calrissian, right? That's a visual.
I like that idea. Yeah.
Right. But when you start getting into superheroes, that can have elements of Afrofuturism too, right? But it operates within the bubble of the superhero genre. So it's more superhero than pure Afrofuturism. And some people, I don't mean to quibble. I don't even really care. But I'm just saying,
me either.
That's what that is.
Yeah, because because a superhero can be a subset of
it can be a subset of it. Exactly. Like, Nichols, Star Trek is not really Afrofuturism, but Nichelle Nichols, even her history of how she took the role and kept the role with Martin Luther King,
right?
Quitting, and then King saying, "No, you can't quit. You got to go back." That's an element of Afrofuturism. That's actually a intersection of fictional Afrofuturism literally colliding with real world Afrofuturism.
That's correct. I would definitely. Because to go from that,
right? Without Uhura, you don't have not just Benjamin Sisko. You don't have LeVar Burton.
You don't have LeVar Burton. You don't have Gaiman. You don't have Michael.
You have none of that.
Yeah. But the other thing, though, is that she helped recruit people to the NASA program too. So sometimes you don't have some women and Black women astronauts even.
Absolutely. I paid money to be able to draw her, man.
Yeah.
Nichelle Nichols. I paid money. I was like I'll pay. I just want to draw her. And draw a portrait of her. Because I felt like, I love drawing portraits, and I'm like, I'm an Afrofuturist. I have to do this. I have to do this. So I got to get LeVar Burton. I don't know if he's going to let me do it, but I'm going to work on it. But so visual Afrofuturism is when you, at least as I relate to it, is the intersection of those themes I was talking about with Afrofuturism within the perspective of sequential arts, which is comics or graphic novels.
Interesting.
So it is unambiguous. It is pure science fiction. It's science fiction. It could be near future, like Parable of the Sower, like you did, Damien, and adaptation of Octavia's book, or it can be some crazed, billion-year tale like Infinitum, which is what and that is that's my answer for that question.
No, that's good. I mean, because I know that it's a term that I've heard you use before, and that you situate yourself within that, you know, I mean, even myself in that in that space. So you know, who are some of the who are some of the standout like precursors or like pioneers in that visual Afrofuturism, would you say, besides yourself?
Right. I don't know everything, obviously. Anyone who knows me know you don't know everything, right? But from my understanding and my perspective of everything, the first publicly acknowledged visual Afrofuturist that had prominence that everybody knew of was Overton Lloyd and Pedro Bell or Parliament Funkadelic. They the first ones that did science fiction. It had black folks in it, and it was unambiguously black. It was unambiguously science fiction. That's the first stuff I remember. Now I know there was a Captain Sky, but all that stuff was somewhat connected to it.
Yeah.
Somewhere off in there, maybe around the same period, but a little bit later, I believe it's Turtell Only. Who would eventually go on to create the Black Age of comics.
Right.
By the time you hit the 80s, you start hitting a bunch of dudes who had come into the industry. Now, a lot of them did superhero stuff, but then you had people who did science fiction with black characters. That's what they did. And sometimes they were heavily Afrocentric. Sometimes they were mildly Afrocentric. And that would be like a Machindo. I guess I would include Gray Williamson in that. I would include myself in that.
Yeah.
I would include, and there are a few more obscure ones, like a brother by the name of Ricardo Belcon. Those people did unambiguous fantasy, science fiction. You had people like Thomas Blackshear did a little bit of visual Afrofuturism as well, but his stuff was very much very heavy history based. But the straight science fiction, that's a hard thing to do when it comes to comics.
Yeah.
However, you did have some visual Afrofuturists prior to that, along the period of Pedro and Overton, who did comics along with, within the vein of Parliament, like Shusei Naguaka, who did the covers for Earth, Wind, and Fire. The documentary where he literally shows the drawings that Maurice White did.
Oh, wow.
Designs for the cover, man, of Rise with the pyramid. It wasn't just him drawing it. He's describing how Maurice White said, "This is what I want." Maurice White was drawing it.
That's wow.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's crazy. So Naguaka, who would go on to do Frankie Beverly and Maze, the band that's been around for a gazillion years. I call Maze. I call the Grateful Dead the White Maze. Frankie Beverly and Maze. That's
hilarious.
Right? But so yeah, Naguaka did it. So that's what I saw. That's wonderful. Yeah.
I'm
sure there were others, but that history is kind of not known. It's still being developed. Frankly, it's still being cataloged, as I was told by our mutual friend Julian Shamlis of Michigan State University. And I find myself as part of that too. I'm part of that unknown history that now all of a sudden people are like, whoa, he's an overnight success. Like, no, I've been doing this a long time.
It's like Beyonce was an overnight success, right?
Who was an overnight? Would say?
You're like Beyonce or somebody, right? Like,
no, I was not overnight success.
Working for a long time.
And the jury's still out. I don't know. I think the book's selling well. It appears to be selling really, really well.
That's excellent.
It appears to have a great deal of media hype around it.
Yeah, and
like what both of us, we were both in New York Times today. You
kind of read my mind. I was going to circle back to that because.
Hold on. Here we go. So everyone, this is history. What you're about to visit. So this New York Times. You see the heading right up there. So we're gonna go here. It's for the record, brother Jennings. See that?
I do.
Man, are you wearing the same exact sweater, man?
Yeah, man. I have a bunch of them. Like
That's called continuity, ladies and gentlemen. Pay attention. It's very important.
I mean,
So that's from Infinitum. See that right there? That says there, that's like a New York Times. So that's part of history. So that is not as so I'm not as obscure as I was.
that's true.
I am not as obscure as
close.
And it is a pleasure to be here.
Man.
I would say our mutual friend and colleague, a fellow Afrofuturist, Yatasha Womack, asked me the other day. She said, "So Tim, now that the book is out, how do you feel?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "You want to know the truth?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "I am loving it." I love it. He said, "Really?" I said, "Have you ever seen Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory?"
Here we go.
I said, "You remember Grandpa Joe in the bed? He's bedridden. He's like, I can't move." But he saw that golden ticket. He got up. He was like falling over. Said, "Whoa, I'm Grandpa Joe."
I love it.
I'm loving it. I'm loving the attention. I'm loving I mean, is it okay to be that honest? Or do I have to?
I don't see why not.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for giving me permission.
I'm like you needed it. I'm like, come on.
It is the most gratifying professional period of my entire life.
That's wonderful.
It is, because it's not like I'm mentioned within the context of me doing somebody else's work.
That's right.
This is my work.
Mm-hmm.
And the book review hadn't even got here yet. That's in a week or whenever it's coming, right? Hopefully, please Lord, it'll be a review. Right. But thus far, the reviews have been uniformly positive. Right. Some of them ranging on a little bit like, "Hey, I didn't pay them to say that. You don't have to compare me to Alex Ross. I appreciate it, but you don't have to compare me to Alex Ross."
Have to. I was gonna ask you this because, I have to pretend like I don't know, but just for but so tell us about the story. Tell us about the origins of Infinitum, how that got started, and how it progressed.
Right. Well, things are changing. Things are changing, and which is why I am here and you're here. We're here because this change is what we're part of. There's a movement. Afrofuturism is a thing. It's a Wikipedia entry now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Is here. And I hope I'm not forgetting your question, but it's remind me one more time. What'd you say? Come on, one more time.
Origins of Infinitum. Like, where does the story?
Infinitum. Yes, Infinitum is about this African king, ancient African king. A homage to the works of Charles Saunders. Mm-hmm. That kind of Imaro period, where this guy is he rules a kingdom where he rides large dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And he and his queen cannot have children. So this fellow, along with his queen, make the decision to go to one of the king's concubines, who is a sorceress, the absolute wrong person you should mess with.
Do not do it.
Don't do that. I would not recommend that, guys out there or girls. Don't, if you're dealing with a sorceress, don't do that. Just leave them alone. But he does not do that. And he is cursed with the gift of immortality. And as a result, he is forced to, in the words of Volbenrin, the sorceress, you will see your loved ones wither to dust.
Mm.
And she curses him. And this man is forced to live through ancient history, obscure and known history, both large and small. He is forced to live through our recent past, the transatlantic slave period, the civil rights movement, the world liberation movement, on into colonization of other planets and beyond. And that is the synopsis for Infinitum and Afrofuturism.
Excellent. What gave you the idea? I mean, like, so how did it start? Because I know that there's formally, like, what are some of the origins, you know?
Well, tired of black characters dying before the end of the credits.
Yep.
You know, the brother in, I've said this several times, so I can get through it real quick. I was totally traumatized by the black guy dying at the end of the Night of the Living Dead. He was a person that had agency. He kept his wits behind him. He was smart. He didn't get bogged down. He tried to save other people, but when he couldn't, he kept moving. And he gets out of the house and he is shot by other humans. He is not killed by his arm. He is killed by a white person.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that on a Sunday after church.
Wow.
Well, you're like, hey, it was the 70s. There was not, I remember, I didn't see Taxi Driver, but I remember my dad watching Taxi Driver, right? So, watch Taxi Driver. No, son, you can't watch Taxi Driver, right? But yeah, it was that's what I wanted to address, what I call the high mortality rates of black characters, particularly black male characters in science fiction and speculative, visual science fiction and visual speculative fiction. And pretty much almost total, up till Octavia really came around, almost total absence of black female characters. They were just, I mean, most people don't, and I love George Lucas. I hope I get to meet him. I hope he gets to see Infinitum. But there's this painting, that's this beautiful painting done by Ralph McQuarrie, who's one of my idols. He's influenced my style. If you look at my work, you're looking at Ralph McQuarrie, right? I did that. I'm proud of that. But he had a bigger visual effect on me, probably him, Ron Cobb, Sid Mead to a certain extent. Mobius definitely, but Ralph McQuarrie. That's the man. He's the man. And he was doing this painting of that famous scene where the Millennium Falcon lands on the landing pad in Cloud City. And in one of the earlier drawings, Lando Calrissian is walking out to the Falcon, and in the sketch, there's a black woman next to him. And I made sure I downloaded it, and I just was like, what happened to her? Why was she taken out? And that's why I did Infinitum. It's like, we're going to live. We're going to be here. We're going to be here past the end of time. We're going to be here. And that's what Infinitum was. It was that. And it was also because I want to eventually get around to making films. I guess I am somewhat of a filmmaker with the projects I do with my twin brother. But I wanted to do something that was as big as Kurosawa. The end of Throne of Blood. If anyone knows about Throne of Blood is the adaptation of Macbeth. And I believe it's Throne of Blood. It was where at the end, Toshiro Mifune is running, and he's got his armor on, and all these arrows are coming at him, and he's pow, 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 and they hit them. And I wanted to do something like that, big on scale, but with us in it. Right.
So what is the utility, you think, of like Afrofuturism? Like, how does it affect us now? And how can it change people's lives, do you think, to see these images, to see ourselves in the future, to see ourselves interacting with these types of technologies or magic or what have you, right?
Barack Obama.
Okay.
Barack Obama is a nerd.
Right.
He's a nerd. He's a geek. And he saw enough intellectual expansion within himself to even dare to say, hey, I'm going to run for president. Right? Just like crazy. And he did that. And he didn't just win it once, he won it twice.
That's totally true.
So that's Afrofuturism, and I'm going to use a little profanity here. That's some Afrofuturism for your ass. So that's the agency.
For both the globes. Okay.
Exactly. That's the agency. It gives you the ability to expand through fiction, if that's the category we're talking about, because it applies to different things.
Yes.
And it gives you the ability to visualize your futures or to re-visualize your past. That is what visual Afrofuturism, the power of it. That's what, and I've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
When it wasn't sexy, the pay was very low, you know, one lawsuit. I won't go into it, but there was a lawsuit. So well, it was a lawsuit, a threatening of a lawsuit, right? So
yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. You deal with it, that's the power of what we do. And I think particularly we're in this environment, which is so amazing that we're in this environment where we have people die. I just lost a very close cousin to COVID.
Yeah. My condolences. Yeah.
And, you know, we're in this world where this virus has necessitated the need to generate more content by these media.
Yeah.
And you can only, one company owns Star Wars now. So everything is Star Wars and Marvel. That's great. I renewed my Marvel account, my Disney Plus account. I'm all in.
Yep.
But then the other services, they have to eat too.
That's right.
So that's why what we do is in such demand. And will be in demand. This is like this is like the Black exploitation period. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Demographics have changed. Totally.
Yep.
The demographics of the content creators and the companies themselves have changed. They know the data has been updated where it's clear we spend a lot of money on this stuff.
That's right.
And this virus has caused us to go through 10 years worth of content in 10 months.
That's totally true. And
I'm not going to watch Breaking Bad again. I'm sorry. It's depressing.
Yeah. You know, it's like, I've never seen Breaking Bad.
Right.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I do want to see it. It's on my queue. It's in my queue.
When you see it, you will understand what I'm saying. It is such a brilliantly told story that it's oh my God, this character goes so much. And Bryan Cranston is such a brilliant actor.
Oh, the dude is
don't use Heidelberg for 10 minutes in Godzilla, baby. You got to put him in the entire movie. But anyway, that's another thing. Right?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that new thing he did. What is it? Your Honor or whatever? Or he's a judge?
He's a judge. I think in New Orleans. I'm not sure.
Something like that. Yeah, I want to check that out. Yeah. So let me see. What was the next thing?
I was rambling, man. Sorry.
I know what it is. I want to know about process. You know, because you make really, really beautiful images. You know, they're really, really beautiful. They're very well rendered, and you can do. You know, I know you use like a variation of different media.
Sure.
How is these book? How are your images made? Like, how do you go through that process?
Okay, so for the younglings who are listening and the not so younglings, here's what I do. I use everything. I'm a digital artist. I don't draw on paper anymore. I'm a digital artist. I use digital paint using Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint. I'm a 3D animator. My specialty, I suck as an animator, but as a modeler, I'm okay. And I can animate for 13 hours straight without feeling tired. So when you look at projects like Infinitum, but projects like Maddie's Rocket, right? That bike is 3D. That spire in the background, that ship, these are 3D.
Right.
The only thing that's a straight drawing is the character, right? With this here, these characters are 2D, but the ships are 3D. I custom build them, right? And what 3D does, it gives me the power to do more within the same period of time, right? Because I'm still painting over those objects, the renders, and people say, what's a render? It's when you output a still image, right? Now, this technique for those folks, like, what are they talking about? If you look at video game design, visual development, viz dev, and like that, those people use that technique. That's because that's the technique I learned when I was in the video game industry. I worked for about 1-2 years for Ubisoft Entertainment. I almost lost my mind, but literally Said, I used to have a full head of hair, but it's gone now, right? But that experience, although it was mentally trying, I learned so much during that period about how to harness the power of digital. So what I do is I start off with sketches, and I can't even put it here, but I have a 32-inch Cintiq, really big, Wacom.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have a 28-inch Surface Studio Pro. So I have two very large drawing screens, right? And I have all the software loaded on there. And what I'll do is I'll do sketches in black and white. And they can be very small. I'll blow them up. I'll move things around. I'll cut stuff around. Because when you're working digitally, you can edit things non-destructively.
Mm-hmm.
That you don't degrade the resolution of the image.
That's right.
Unless you intentionally do it.
That's right.
So I'm able to do that. And then when I do that, I'm able to add iterative detail. When I say iterative detail, first you do a sketch. Then you refine that sketch into a tight black and white drawing. Mm-hmm. And then from there, you go on top of that with base color, right? Some people call it flatting. Right. But that's another step for me. Then when you do your flatting, you go on top of that with your rendering. Mm-hmm. Then you go with highlights. Then you render again, right? You step away from it, right? Because when you're doing fully painted work like I do, you have to step away from stuff, and then you come back to it. You say, okay, I need to tighten this up. I need to tighten that up. Or, that's still wonky, but it has style, so I'm going to leave it.
Right.
You look at some of my characters, that's like, man, that's weird. That I left it that way. That was
yes, I left it that way.
At the end, I was so tired, I didn't care.
I know. I mean, that's also
do this last image. Boss is like, I was like, I don't care. I'm done.
That's also that.
That particular. I'm tired. Leave me alone.
I know that space very well. Space very well. So there's been a request to show your favorite 3 spreads from the book.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, there's been a request, to show your favorite 3 spreads.
Oh,
or at least 3 spreads that you really like.
I'll throw it out of the book. Is that what you're talking about?
From the book, yeah.
Oh man, good God!
Oh, here we go.
Ooh, that is the first. Who asked that question?
Bree.
Bree. I don't. Do I know Bree?
Yeah.
Bree and I are gonna have words. How could you do this to me? Let's see here. Yes. Here's my favorite spread. My favorite 3. This one here is awesome. That one.
Yeah, that is a nice one.
I'm gonna explain to you why. I actually did the drawing and I painted the character, and I've never said this to anyone. I have a version of this where the sky is totally painted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But about 2 years ago, I have a cousin who gave my wife and I a ride from Atlanta to New Orleans because we couldn't fly out. So she said, no, I'll drive you. So we rode with her. She drove us. But somewhere midway between Atlanta, we were going to New Orleans, and Gulfport, where she was going, in Gulfport, Mississippi, it was a horrible traffic accident that caused like a 3-hour traffic jam. I didn't even touch the sky up. I just dropped the photo in.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even touch it up.
Uh-oh.
And
somebody spoilers, he hadn't read the book yet. So go ahead.
Early in the book, man. Come on. Just at the beginning. You got all that other stuff going on. Right? What is that? Joseph. We good, man. I got you covered. Relax. So that's one. The 2, the second one would probably be. Oh man, there's so many cool ones here. Wow. Because you have to understand, I put so much time into each of these images, and I wanted to, it's all about the meaning of those images. But I would say this one that means a lot to me. I'll do this. There's that one there.
Oh, yes. I really like that page.
Because she going to be there. I made sure she be going to be there. I don't know who you're talking about if you ask me her name. And then this one. Because that's both Afrofuturism.
Yeah, man, that's really cool.
So yeah, those are probably the 3 ones that mean quite a bit to me. I hope I answered your question.
No, that's really good. Yep, that's really cool.
Bree, you put me on the spot. You didn't have to do that.
No, you put me on the spot.
I appreciate that.
You know, I wonder. Let me see, because this is the first question.
Thank you for asking.
I'm about to open it up to questions because people can please do ask more questions. But I have this one kind of weird question.
I'm here. I've been unleashed. I was quiet for a while. Now I'm here. I'm ready.
So you're about to go take a trip into the future, right?
Yeah.
But you know, and this is not people, but 5 things that you got to have with you on this voyage. You could probably have more, but what are 5 things that got to go with you into the future?
A computer with a easy user interface. That's the first thing that has access to data and information. 2, and this is something out of Arthur C. Clarke's Exile of the Eons, where this guy goes into the future named Trevor, and they send him a unit that basically has the ability to generate food, and he can live in it for his day. So I would want to bring a unit with me that I can live in, and that's what I would want to do. So, and you said 5. Yeah. The other thing is I would want a vehicle that would allow me to hover, float, and roll over any surface and survive in any environment, however cold or hot. And 4, I would like an auto dock that has a self-diagnosing program that allows it to repair itself and to repair me.
That makes sense.
And 5, I would like my wife along with me, even though she would get tremendously bored.
I didn't but that's cool. You should be like, but that's cool. Okay.
I'd be in with you, man. Just let me go.
So it's forced. Yeah, I love that.
No. The house.
There's a bunch of questions.
I thought about that.
So the first question from BT is, if there was a Black cookout with Afrofuturism as a theme of the day, what 5 artists and writers outside of Black culture gets invited and why? Oh, that's funny.
Gene Roddenberry gets invited.
Gene Roddenberry. Okay. All right.
William Gibson gets invited.
Okay.
Even though I was angry with him for a long period of time for Count Zero. That's like the blackest book ever.
I know, right?
So with Count Zero just messed me up, man. I was like, oh man, this book is like black. And I was like, no, this guy from the Midwest wrote it. The white dude. I was like, right.
Really, yeah.
So William Gibson, Gene Roddenberry, George Lucas.
Okay.
I would say Laurie Anderson.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Laurie would definitely get invited.
She's really cool. I remember. Yeah.
Brilliant. She's brilliant. And just for a little spice, I would want to invite Lady Gaga.
No, doesn't. You didn't say why though, but that's cool.
No, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to say why.
All right.
But we all know why.
How can an independent creators of color go for advice? Is that where can they go for?
Oh, the web. There's so many people who have things to say and they think about that you can. The internet is a living document that is full of so much information that all you have to do, that phrase, just Google it. You can Google anything and find out about anything. Look, this book here was printed in my studio, physically in the studio.
Yeah.
And I used that and the resource of Jason Reeves, who's over 133 art, because his signage actually appears in Infinitum. And I learned how to print in my house. I have guts of the books right here next to me that I got to eventually take out and probably, well, I don't know. I probably can't do that anymore. But yeah, I had to teach myself how to print. I didn't do it great in terms of the binding. I had to take the book to be bound somewhere else. But yeah, that's so go on the web, join Facebook groups. There are some Facebook groups that are better than others. You know, lately some dudes seem to be losing their mind about this sister who's running the Blade movie, and I'm like, whatever.
I think that'd be cool.
She does a great job with it. You know, and yeah, it's the internet. Become parts of the community. Don't be hesitant to approach people who you feel like can, give you information. I'll explain to you what I mean. I approach people all the time. Some of them with names, some of them without names. I care whether or not I will be accepted by them, but I don't care enough not to try to approach them. And some of them probably find it a little off-putting, and I apologize for that because it's never my intention to make someone feel uncomfortable. But you will probably not find anyone more harmless than me. And I really just want to be part of a community, and I really want to be someone's friend.
Yeah,
people who I admire.
Help people. Yeah. That's dope.
I want to be accepted and loved just like everybody else. It ain't no, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna take all your money. No, I just want to be friends. That's it. Friends.
The next question was, when did you discover or begin to discover your style as an artist? When it was the moment it just kind of clicked for you? And this is actually from Mysterious Galaxy asked this question.
Oh, those damn Mysterious Galaxy people, they gotta stop. Okay, so here's what I found. You actually have the ability to change your art style multiple times over a period of your life.
Right.
There's some artists that they get that one style and they stick with it for their entire career. Alex Ross would be like that. He started and that's it. He does that one thing. He does not deviate. He'll add some tricks to it. Like lately, he's been working with a lot of neon, a lot of different kind of lighting, but the style and the technique pretty much fall right within the ballpark.
Yeah.
That's what he's good at. Kadir Nelson is like that.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about comic book artists, graphic novels.
Right.
But my style has been pretty similar. But I found that my style changes based upon, let me repeat this. It changes based upon the reference that I use.
Yeah.
If the quality of the reference, and not even the quality, it's the type of reference that I use determines the style and the exactness of the output, the final output. And I have found that I have immensely enjoyed using reference. That's copying for you other people. But here's the catch. I found custom reference is better.
Right.
Custom rep, like someone might ask, well, what's the difference between reference and custom rep? Custom reference is reference you create.
When you make it yourself. Yeah.
You make your own you make your own reference material. So for example, there are programs that are available to folks out there. There are actually 3D lighting programs where you can light 3D models.
That's cool.
And those things have been immensely helpful to me.
I love it.
Because they allow me to get reference. You don't follow reference slavishly. You just use it as reference. You're like, okay. But let me add this backlight on there. That'll look cool.
Exactly.
I look at more fine art than I used to.
Interesting.
And I look at their sites online. This is the tip. I'm handing this to you. Don't ever say I hadn't done that for you. There are vast catalogs of screen captures from movies. Entire movies, Citizen Kane, Star Wars, Solaris, the remake of Solaris, the original, 2001, all of the Kurosawa films that have screen captures every few seconds.
Wow.
And you can study film and frame composition, but not just in terms of placement of objects, but the lighting, the lighting, the visual effects. That's one of my style is based on that, because I am more influenced in terms of my visual style by films than I am from comics. Like Steranko, he's a film guy.
Yeah, right. That's right.
That's
Steranko.
That's
yeah. So this is from Darius. He says, okay. Do you find that with every moment, Darius?
Okay.
He says, do you find it with every moment of completing a project that there's a piece of life or bliss of catharsism that comes over you?
Yes, but this time it's much more intense. I'm Grandpa Joe.
He's Grandpa Joe. Yeah.
This is like Maddie's Rocket was like being Buck Rogers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm back. I'm like, oh God, what happened? It's 500 years later, you know, and I'm still was trying to find my way, but I knew, hey, I did Maddie's Rock. I did it. Because first it was floppies. I was a little uncertain. Then I did 2 of them, didn't even bother to print the 3rd one. That's it. Let's go for the graphic novel. And I did it. And I felt very, very proud of myself. I knew I'd done something good. Won the Glyph Awards. Thank you, Glyph.
Yeah.
Infinitum felt like Luke Skywalker destroying the Death Star. That was big.
That's really, really great.
That's I could try to. He said it's like, well, it's not like no. It's like destroying the Death Star. It's huge.
It's epic. Yeah. So I got 2 more questions, and then we're actually it's almost 8 o'clock. So I'm about to
2 more questions. I'll make
Therese. She says, "What does a typical creating day look like for you?"
Chocolate chip cookies.
Okay.
Webb reading the Palmer Report, talking garbage to you and Stacey Robinson in a thread.
Yeah.
Feeling like, okay, you wasted most of your day. Let's get online doing social media. Because when I'm on social media, I'm not just scanning. I'm actually having to do promotion, do a thread, post. That's work. And then
anyway, man, I think about it.
By midday, I have to start getting some work in. And right now, I'm not in the art creating mode because I'm creating pitches for my next project. It'll be Maddie's Rocket, which will be a trilogy, Brother Robo, middle grade book, Black Metropolis, my memoirs, and then I eventually want to get to High John Conqueror.
Amazing. So how long, that he's referring to a thread that me and Stacey Robinson and him and he
4 or 5 years now.
Is that one seriously? Is it the same text? Is this
well, they're different ones.
Yeah.
Different timestamps because my stuff is messed up. Like today, Stacey started talking, but it came through on my phone. It didn't come through on my laptop. We've been doing this at least since 2016, 2017.
You have to figure out a way to archive the thread. Yeah, because we have an ongoing thread.
We shouldn't say. We probably need to edit that stuff out.
Some of it we would have to. Yeah. So the last question. I always like this question.
Try, man. Got to be gourmet cookies. Go ahead.
Gourmet cookies. Okay. If you could go back in time and tell your younger self any advice, what would you tell him? And this is from Radian. Rahadian. Sorry.
Well,
name up.
You ever seen this movie called Family Man with Nicolas Cage?
Yes.
You really can't change your past, particularly when you bring kids into it.
Right.
Because I love my babies, even if 1 or 2 of them don't particularly like me. I love them all. And so I want them to outlive me. And so I have to accept that the past is the past. That's However, right. I would absolutely pull myself to the side and say, dude, stop making things so difficult in your art and simply finish your work. If you finish your work, you will find that many things will go much easier for you. Yep. Last 30 seconds. I always say this, and I'm going to say it now. Finishing the work, when you have a finished project, right? I got this book here. I forced myself to do this book, right?
Yep.
When I forced myself to do this book, this book came about because of it.
That's correct.
That's the only way that happened was because I finished it. In fact, I destroyed a few other books that I was contracted to do because I was driven to do that. I had to be honest with myself and say, dude, stop doing that other work. You have to do this work. So that's finish your work. And I'm going to keep repeating it over. I don't care. Finish it.
Yep.
All right, here she is. Hey, how you doing?
Hey,
I finished right on time. So there you go.
You did, and I didn't even want to come back on because I'm not going to lie. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to hear the two of you speak. So I was like watching the clock and I was like, oh, I actually have to end the discussion, which I don't particularly want to because it's such an amazing discussion. And I think.
Thank you.
I just want to thank both of you so much for joining us. And for everyone, thank you for all of the amazing questions. I'm also going to put both Tim and John have phenomenal websites with a bunch of great resources on them. So I'm going to put the links for both of them as well. And there's also a link to a TEDx talk that Tim did that's really awesome that I'm going to put down there. And then there's also one for John. There's a really cool for our podcast lovers. There is a great one. He's on episode 2, I believe. And that also is just like a really great talk to listen to because I feel like I know this was an hour, but it feels like we could keep on listening to you guys for forever because it really is just a pleasure to get to hear the two of you. Yes.
Will this be replayed?
Yes. So
okay, the only reason I ask because some people would say, "Hey, is it going to be a replay?" So, all right, good. It'll be replayed.
That's really cool to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So
hello, Tim and John in the future.
No. That's
so
funny.
it's really nice too, though. If you want to share this with your friends, what's great is that the exact same link that you use to view the event tonight is going to be the exact same link where people can come and watch the replay for.
Sweet.
And so that makes it super easy. And then don't forget, go and buy the amazing book. Go and buy Infinitum because it is just. I'm going to give a virtual round of applause and we'll multiply that by all of the people out there. And it really is truly beautiful. And if you click that button, you'll find that one as well as Parable of the Sorrow and Kindred and a bunch of other great books by these guys on that link. And I don't want to end this event.
Look at he's like
yes, all of them.
It was hilarious. I love it.
And this really has been such a phenomenal treat. Thank you guys for sharing this evening with us. I wish I was at the bookstore so I could just like have a shelf behind me. I wish. But thank you so incredibly much. I mean, both of you have so much knowledge and experience and teachers, and just thank you so much for joining us tonight. And more books keep them coming.
He's like David Walker is like oh my goodness.
I almost just want to see how far you can keep
going. How far is he gonna go? He just keeps bringing them out. Oh, that's hilarious. That's his wife's book. That was very smart. So I'm like
extra brownie points for
that's Jeff Smith. That's really dope. Jeff Smith. Oh man, y'all are wild. Yeah, we missed the cons too. Oh, back in the time of touch. Oh. Anyway.
Well, I hope that next time we get to celebrate with you guys in person. So
that would be so great. Yeah,
that would be amazingly awesome. But
I might try to come and roll down there again. Because I live in Riverside, so
yeah, that would be awesome. We would love to have you. Absolutely.
Definitely
and if you ever can come visit from New York, we would also love to have you, Tim. It would be so much fun to get to have a reunion of this event in the store.
Hurry up! These books are heavy, man. Hurry up.
Right.
No, I think there's like a dissertation and a TED Talk I need to have.
Oh no!
But thank you so incredibly much, everyone. Huge round of applause again for Tim and John. Congratulations to your baby being out in the world.
Yeah, it's a wonderful book, man. Congratulations. I'm very proud of you, bro. Very proud.
It's a beautiful piece.
Thank you. We'll be back.
Yes, we'll be back. And
definitely.
We'll see you all next time. Have a beautiful evening, everyone. Goodbye, Tim. Goodbye, John. Goodbye, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Thank you so much.
Down below for you guys, so make sure you check them out.